I'm going to try this again. This is like our 4th attempt. But it's only been 17 minutes. We haven't lost a whole lot of time. We still got 90 minutes. So I'm not worried about it. That's plenty of time. Not sure what happened here. I did unplug my TikTok connection. Somebody suggested that I was pushing a live link to a dead TikTok account. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's just gremlins. I believe in gremlins. All right, looks like we're back. Joined by Michael Cervantes, Michael Schwab. Exploring again, Linda Curtis, Smarty Pants, Ted Stryker, Kiddo Core, Mazel. And by the way, I terminated... Okay, yeah, we're on everything. I discontinued Patreon. And in case you're wondering why, it's because we no longer need the training wheels. We no longer need to rely on a business model that is just too easy to cancel. And instead, I want to move on to something else in terms of funding this operation. And my intention originally was to lean heavily into the tabloid. So to make that happen, I'm restructuring everything. And so it's no longer going to be built around a subscription model. In fact, it'll be more resilient because now bad actors can't try to triangulate and undermine our work once we're fully, I think, independent of any kind of a third-party platform. And I think so, for the most part, this is a good thing. It's very freeing. And I'm doing so because I realized I think I left this whole thing vulnerable to sabotage. And I'm not accusing anybody of sabotage, however. Something happened that was tantamount to such. And it just made me realize that, one little error, one mistake, the USPS loses one package, it could set us back 2 months. And I don't want to lose any time. So I'm adapting. And I already have a side project that I think will finance the tabloid itself. It's a publication. And I've started a small side business, which I am not going to advertise too much here, at least not yet, because I need to get some good reviews first. And then I'm also selling a ton of artwork on eBay as usual. So the future of the IPS is assured. If you want the archives, if you want the live stream notifications, if you want the Discord access, it's all free. Everything is now open source. Just go to infiniteplainsociety.com or ips.monster. Same difference, takes you to the same place, and that is the hub. And nothing is paywalled. Although there may be some instances, but these are separate things. For example, books, PDF previews, etc. About 2 weeks ago, I distributed I released for $1 a PDF for Lie World, which is my next book, and I'm waiting to put some illustrations into it before I publish it in paperback. So I don't think we need to rely on any third party from here on out. And also this makes it very clear that we can't really be canceled. You can't pull the plug on us with YouTube or Patreon or anything for that matter. So moving forward, I think everything should proceed according to plan. We already have the IPS Deep Dive number 1, and I was looking at the stats on it, and it's been viewed more than 5,000 times. I already have number 2 scripted. I'll be releasing that one or recording it likely on Monday, if not sooner. Right now I'm working on a music video, which I haven't said too much about. I'm just going to surprise everyone. The musician sent me a track, and he suggested that, by tomorrow evening I'll have the full version. But I've been working on the artwork and the animation, and I'm primarily using Sora TV, which, if you're familiar with it, it's the AI generator that does the text to video. And I've had a ton of practice. Now this is weird. My laptop with the audio encoders just shut down. It says your device ran into a problem and needs to restart. We're collecting some error info. Then we will restart for you. Things have been very glitchy, like the simulation's mad at me or something. So let's move on to the list of things, the IPR points of interest. If something here sounds interesting to you, just wave your hand and we'll go to it. Musk's exploding 33-story tower. Now, have you all heard the headlines or read the headlines, heard the stories about space junk affecting flights airplanes having to dodge space junk. You see where we're at and who the finger is pointed at. And I've made this correlation for a long time. Musk, space junk, mind junk. So just to reiterate that, Elon Musk's space and mind junk. And I posted this one on the 17th. So right after this thing happened. So listen to this. Musk is the leading source of mind and space junk. Between X and SpaceX, he single-handedly has imperiled cyberspace and outer space. This is part of his world stage role. He's a living example of why rich individuals threaten the collective by their very existence. And think about the CEO story, Luigi versus the CEO. It ties into this. Musk has so much power and wealth that he bought Twitter and converted it into a vector for mind viruses, which supposedly lead to political violence. He opened the floodgate for a widespread deluge of, quote, dangerous misinformation. This was the theme in the Netflix's The Madness, which has a Musk-esque CEO who helps steal the election and finances the right-wing Nazis on social media. Now, I've been pointing out that The Madness was basically Elon Musk. Now, listen to what the Hollywood Reporter said. The Madness, delving into how and why the series was conceived, its relevancy, and their Elon Musk-esque billionaire. So the Hollywood Reporter also noted that Luigi was based on, or rather is very similar to Travis Bickle. But anyway, pointing out here that I'm looking at the Metascript connections between Netflix and real life. I'm noting that this character is 100% foreshadowing Musk in his future role. And the Hollywood Reporter reiterates this. And The Madness is about mind viruses. And the billionaire in The Madness is who finances the spread of mind viruses and steals the election. Biographer Seth Abramson says Elon Musk's madness could endanger America. He warns that Musk's mental struggles could have catastrophic consequences for the U.S. government and its security. Abramson calls for urgent action to protect America. So Musk's madness, and then The Madness, which is based on Musk in part. And he gets killed, and it's a Luigi-esque type of situation, as in the public thinks it's a good thing. Governor Newsom said, this is serious, slamming Musk over wildfire misinformation. California Governor Gavin Newsom responds to recent misinformation by Elon Musk and President-elect Trump about the California wildfires. So Musk, in my view, is a manufactured character, a provocateur, whose purpose it is to gain collective support for censorship and regulation, to protect the global commons of cyberspace and low Earth orbit, our shared outer space. And I've been talking about this for some time, and it was pretty obvious, the disease X, the mind virus stuff. But now the space junk stuff is accelerating, and it's all part of the same continuum. Cyberspace, inner space, outer space as a metaphor for the space between your ears, your mind, because it's all worldview warfare. Musk is obviously a part of this, keeping you in a simulation. The Truman Show they implanted into your head. Falling space junk is the latest reason for flight delays. One airline said it gets little notice of where it came from, but expects rockets to fall, so flights are delayed. Futurism, SpaceX Starship explodes after launch, filling sky with epic streaks of fire. 33-story tower, 33-story rocket, 33 engines. This is from Travel Weekly Asia. Elon's falling rocket debris causes flight cancellations. Flights delayed after rocket debris fell from space all over the southern Indian Ocean. Now, this is all correlated. Again, mind space, inner space, cyberspace, low Earth orbit. These are the commons. So here's a thread with different videos. This is the ship 33 breaking up in re-entry. And I've noticed some kind of Christian doomsayer conspiracy theorists believe that this is all symbolic of the fallen angels, the 33% who rebelled, and that we're seeing the fallen angels arriving in time for the inauguration. I've seen that. Which is not as strange as the lady that was talking to Venus, believing it was an orb drone sent here to tell her about Jesus. Okay, again, here's Musk, leading provider of mind and space junk. None of this is coincidental. So that's number one. Two, Jaren ducks out of Globebusters over the South Pole. Wits it, spits it. Witsit Spits It is worse than Vapegate. Does anybody care about that? Let me know in the comments below. Roseanne Barr twerking and rapping. And I don't mean to get all JL about this, but when I saw this, I thought of some of the twerking. Okay, so when Trump was shot, Rosie O'Donnell said it looked fake. She came out and she said it looked hinky. The word hinky, which I had to look up. I didn't know what the word hinky was. But he pointed out that hinky sounds like Hinckley. And, of course, John Hinckley Jr. shot Reagan. John Hinckley Jr., Hinckley, Hinckley, the basis for Travis Bickle, the basis for Joker. So these connections are all there. But he also pointed out that the name, Rosie O'Donnell, would be Rose, as in Rose from the Dead, and Donald Trump. So it's all kind of coded into this little story here. And so I'm watching this rap video where Tom McDonald and Roseanne are, just twerking and rapping. I think the song's called Daddy's Home. And Roseanne sounds, I'm not knocking it. It's better than Ben Shapiro. She's actually kind of being funny. But I thought about this and I'm thinking, well, Roseanne, you got the Rose, and then Tom McDonald. Tom is Thomas, the twin. It means twin. So you got the twin, you got Donald, and Rose. And in the video, she calls out Eminem. It's like a call out to Eminem. So again, Eminem also is connected in the bigger picture of predictive programming, the one eye stuff, the head wound stuff. It's all kind of encoded into this. So let's go ahead and just play the short clip. And this is Roseanne and Tom.
You mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. Thank God that we're back. Couldn't take another 4 years. That's a wrap. I can take a bath in your tears. That's a fact. You got lipstick all on your beard.
Okay, there you have it. Weird timeline. 2025 is just off to a great start. Lean Dion is hand waving for Witsit Spits It. Okay, let's look at Witsit Spits It. I think it's worse than Vapegate. I didn't want to go here, but I thought it was unusual that someone had said that before the trip to Antarctica was brought up, he was crowdfunding to have NASA audited. But then that kind of went away. And then here he is going to Antarctica. And I'm like, well, what happened with that money? We speculated that maybe he was financing a secret vaping addiction. But whatever the case, something else was going on at that time. And it was shared here. Again, this is Witsit Spits It. It gets pretty bad. And I'm just going to play a short clip here because I think it is relevant to our conversation.
But what I think is interesting is that he would advertise it as, oh, come on, guys, it's only $3 a day or $11 a day or $33 a day. And that's in his own words, as you can see here in his...
Now, this is a video from Flat Earth Banjo. I don't know who he is. I've heard Jaron rant about this guy. He doesn't believe that the Antarctica thing was legitimate or real. And I think this is the video where he claims that he sees lines on the screen. So it's really intriguing. Like, this is like moon landing conspiracy theories all over again. But here's where Witsit Spits It gets its name here. And it's pretty bleak, but I'm just going to play it. This is bad stuff.
We have all this that, shout out to Yasuke for bringing this to my attention. But apparently he was arrested right before he started pushing all this life reset stuff. He was arrested for battery, for spitting on his wife. In the notes it says that she grabbed his wrists and he spit on her. There was an order of no contact filed by her on him. And, her being a therapist and him being, life coaching, trying to do relationship advice on people was pretty ridiculous. I think, people should know what they're getting into. If this is the type of businesses they're trying to run, maybe they should try practicing what they preach.
Okay, so now this meme makes sense. I've been seeing this meme of Witsit on the Haktua girl. And now it makes a bit more sense. I was like, what does that mean? I know it's funny, but I don't get it. Now I kind of get it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that answer. I don't know what to make of it. I just think that people have their reasons for not trusting this group of characters. All right, let's move on here. Brandon Biggs, who predicted the first assassination attempt on Trump, claims to have visions of a massive bomb attack during the inauguration. So Brandon Biggs claims that he had a prophetic vision in a dream where he saw Trump get shot at and his eardrum blew up. That's been debunked. It's been totally debunked. There's a number of videos that break down how this guy works. It's a scam. It's what you would consider, it's the Texas sharpshooter fallacy is how it works. You don't hear his misses. You only hear his hits. And he makes these vague hits. Like, there's going to be a rally. There's going to be people there. The sky is going to be blue. Nice weather. It's like, check, check, check. Wow, he nailed all these boxes. Well, no, he really didn't. And then you subtract the ones, or you should, the ones that he gets wrong. Those don't count against him. So he said that there was these big mountains in the background when Trump was shot. No, there's no mountains in Butler, Pennsylvania. So that couldn't have been right. But moreover, he deleted a lot of videos that would have shown that he was consistently wrong. And he was able to take a vague prediction and attach it to the event. Totally illegitimate. Piano says, we know and we've had enough of TFE. Yeah, I have TFE fatigue. I said it the other day. I said that I don't care at this point. I've become shape ambivalent as a result of people trying to tell me to take sides. It's like, I'm not taking sides. I'm a conscientious objector. Like, I'm not in the political horseshoe, and I feel like even acquiescing to this total model is setting my... it's premature. I've said this before. Flat earthers and round earthers are the same people. They really are. It's, I think, an error on both of their sides to assume they have the full picture. Mango says, my TikTok app says we don't have it. I never grew reliant on TikTok. Never cared about it. Never gave it the time of day. I uploaded one South Pole cartoon and they pulled my account, so I said, I'm done. Isabel Ann says, the revolution will be over TikTok after 3 days of no dopamine. Yeah, imagine if X went down. Where are people going to go for their doom scrolling? And I called this thing the PSYOP Entertainment Complex. I was on Fakeologist the other day, and I reiterated that the military-industrial complex is a fiction of the PSYOP Entertainment Complex. Refer to Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, number 9. The threat of the thing is more terrifying than the thing. So we live with these threats, but not the actual things. And the things don't exist, which is the thing we're pointing out here. But regardless, I think we're looking at a situation on the 19th, very PSYOP-rich environment. We live in a PSYOP. It's really remarkable if you really look at just how utterly plugged in people are to the daily drama. It was drones, then it was fog, then it was fires. What happened to the fires? Everything gets pushed by the next thing and the next thing. And there's just so much fake news that you can't even... fake news from the alt media where it's just complete fabrications. In fact, I saw this series of rumors by a number of channels where it's a form of engagement farming to make claims that a source close to the Trump White House or a source close to Trump says, we have to get away from the reliance on second-hand, third-hand. Stop treating the screen like a window and recognize it for the filter. Let's see, Zombie Trump, Daily Star. So this is from, and they refer to him as undead and as a hologram. Very strange cover art here. Like The Walking Dead, this is the star. It says, this is insane. And Trump is walking by as a zombie. I don't know what to make of it, but I take note of the big picture and what's being communicated as like a concerted message. And this death resurrection theme is what we're focusing on. Now this is bizarre too. Trump lands in D.C. and is immediately introduced by Elvis. This is the greatest timeline ever. This is posted by Benny Johnson, who gets paid $100,000 a week by Putin. So here's Trump walking up to an Elvis impersonator. What's so strange about this to me is that Megalopolis, which is about Trump, Megalon, Mogalon, make Rome great again. It's pretty blatant. It's about Trump. And the Caesar character is Trump. But in the movie, they're celebrating Saturnalia, which is right before the new year. And Elvis is performing wrapped in an American flag. Now, if you look on the screen here, there's an American flag right next to Elvis. And he's singing the song America the Beautiful, which was sung during Trump's inauguration by this Mormon choir group. We're talking about his first term. So this is right out of Megalopolis, is what I'm saying. Just a heads up, because Megalopolis is about the fall of Rome. So is Gladiator 2, which just came out. These are highly relevant. Yep, wife just checked, it's down. Okay, TikTok is down. Yeah, what are they going to do? Yeah, that's an Elvis impersonator. And notice too, okay, you see the Elvis thing in the back? I mean, the words, this is from the comeback. After Trump was fake shot, after the Butler, Pennsylvania event, Trump goes to the RNC. And the first time he steps out, the first time we've seen him since he was shot, he's in front of a screen, and they call it this great comeback. And here's the screen. Let me pull this up here. And this is 100% based on Elvis's comeback special. So again, this is Trump after he was shot, so the comeback reference. And now let's go back and look at the Elvis Trump. See, comeback special. Same font. So this Trump Elvis stuff isn't going away. In fact, it's getting worse. It is. It's unignorable at this point. So you might as well catch up. I'm not saying Trump is Elvis, but there's some Trump Elvis overlap. Jurassic Liars points it out all the time. And his explanation is intriguing. And I suggest you take a listen to it. I'm not going to explain it. It's not that I disagree, but that it requires a great deal of explanation. Okay, let's see what we have here. Someone had made a comment about the ISS where Don Petit was making these cameras float around. And she's like, where are the wires? And that's kind of a straw man. We're not saying that there are wires responsible for everything. I jokingly say that those LARPers, those cosplayers, are dangling from bungee cords because it sounds funny. But they're not dangling from bungee cords. It's some kind of seesaw and counterweight system. Requires no wires, no CGI. Look at Christopher Nolan's Inception and the behind the scenes, how they did the zero-G room. That's exactly how they would do it. It doesn't require wires. But anyway, someone said to me, because I said, there's other ways than wires. She said, maybe he's just in a weightless environment on the ISS. Which conspiracy are you choosing? Pick one in this whole thread. Augmented reality, green screen dude, CGI. Which one are you going with? And my answer is the ISS is kept aloft by special effects, not boosters. People think that it's kept up there by the resupply modules, these rockets that come up there and they kind of give it a boost along with their supplies. And along with the residual atmosphere, they stay up. They stay up because of boosters. And I'm saying no. It's always been special effects. And there's this error people make when they can't explain how it works, so they assume it's magic. You're at a magic show. I don't know how this trick worked, therefore it's magic. No, it's a trick. You don't know how he did it. Everything on the ISS is a trick. We've exposed enough of it as trickery. It's not suddenly going to become real. That would be a major continuity flaw. It couldn't happen. It's not going to suddenly be in space tomorrow. The special effects are stuck in 2015. They're garbage. We know this. So my point being, you don't have to be able to explain every single trick. I didn't know how they did the zero-G. I thought wires, sometimes there are wires. There are clear evidences of this, but they've been using different methods, and one of the methods I think is best explained by the special effects as demonstrated in Inception. And by the way, speaking of the Nolans, Christopher Nolan, Jonathan Nolan, you've got Oppenheimer and Fallout. Fallout Season 2, well, Season 1 ends with this devastated nuke-like scene with the Space Needle, Vegas, but the next season was going to start filming, and they had to stop because of the fires in California. Deprogrammed Truther finally made it off the dead stream. Okay, I'm glad you got here. JL said, Elvis is the Antichrist. Donald J. Trump gets a head wound August 4th, 2025, is possessed by Elvis, becoming the Antichrist. I like that. Well, what about tomorrow? Tomorrow, 119, very significant day. Donnie Darko came out this day. 119 and 911 are part of the same body or same set of symbols in code. And it's very intriguing when you look into it, but Donnie Darko, in a subtext, metascript, predictive programming kind of way, represents Donald Trump. So there's a lot you can extrapolate from that, as we often do here. So we'll get back to that. But again, 119 is the date the movie ISS came out. I watched it in the theater last year to see how they would fake the hair. They knew I was watching, so they didn't have any loose hairs. It was all ponytails. Let's get to this one. This is Mel Gibson. So as you all know, Mel Gibson is a huge QAnon influencer. They think he's a white hat. And he was in the movie Conspiracy Theory. He was once pulled over by the cops, and he muttered something. He started ranting about Israel, or some kind of anti-Semitic stuff got attached to him. So he's always been a part of this conspiracy theory realm as far as like actors go. And a lot of noners, the QAnoners, the ones who are still hitting the QAnon sense pipes, they think that he's one of them. Like he's a white hat and Sylvester Stallone. And they're giving us hints. So it's interesting here because both of these individuals, Stallone and Gibson, are part of Trump's team of ambassadors to Hollywood. Mel Gibson was talking to Russell Brand when his house burned, and he talked about his house burning. So he's part of that as well. This is all coming to a point here. He can't be a rogue, an insider, a whistleblower who's against Hollywood, and most of that's based on manufactured memes where they attribute statements to Mel Gibson he did not make about blood drinking vampires in Hollywood. I mean, but I just want to show that he's been part of the predictive programming business for the longest time. So this is the 2000 film, The Patriot, a year before 9/11. He is working on a rocking chair, and listen to what he says, and then watch what happens, and then we'll go over it.
9 pounds, 11 ounces. That's perfect, perfect.
Now, if you're just listening, he's sitting on a rocking chair. The children are looking. And I think this is all symbolic, but you're looking at the chair, the two hind legs. Okay, so what happened here? Gibson is weighing a chair, 9 pounds, 11 ounces. That's perfect, that's perfect. He sits on it, witnesses are looking. They're all afraid it's going to collapse, because apparently this has happened before. And then it collapses. After this scene, and this is The Patriot, the invasion happens and the whole place is burned down. And then reluctantly he has to go back and fight again. So you have this 9/11 theme of the Patriot defending his homeland after an attack, after a collapse, 9/11. It's all in there. So I'm just pointing it out that this too would suggest that Mel Gibson is not some random whistleblower white hat, but that he's part of the big program. I got an interesting comment from Isabel Ann. New De Niro movie, March 21st, The Alto Knights. He gets a head wound and survived. He plays two characters, twin characters. Now, he's also in Ground Zero, where he plays a former president, and then it happens in the midst of some major cyber attack. So De Niro playing a former president, De Niro playing the senator that gets shot during the xenophobic rant, De Niro playing the shooter of the president in that Scorsese film Taxi Driver, the basis for the Joker, where he gets shot. So De Niro is very much representative of Donald Trump. So the head wound thing, highly significant. It all goes back to Travis Bickle, and when he puts the hand to his head at the very end, that iconic scene, which was referenced by Lady Gaga's character in Joker 2, which is interesting because that reference would only refer to Taxi Driver. Jennifer Reeves, Mel Gibson was on Joe Rogan. Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan, and then another point, they have him talking to Russell Brand about it. But anyway, these celebrities get in front of these big psyops. You know, Steven Gutenberg fighting the giant lava-spewing tarantulas, moving cars, except for the electric cars. And of course, because people leave their keys in their cars. Joe Santos says the 33rd Commanders going to the championship playoff for the first time in 33 years. Yeah, lots of 33s. The 33-story building that blew up, the rocket with the 33 engines. What's up with that? Sylvester Stallone had a pyramid scam, so he's not to be trusted. I haven't heard of that. But Stallone's relevant, too, because recently he mentioned the Resurrection AC, the gym where Rocky was fighting, and the iconic scene. So Rocky, and then I think it was something with... it was an old church turned into a boxing ring. And he described how Trump is a mythological character and how he loves mythology. But Stallone is a piece of this puzzle, too. He was also in Demolition Man, predicted programming for 2020. If somebody's involved in a movie that is part of the body of what we would consider to be foreshadowing for future fake news events, then they're fully integrated into the system. There's no way they're rogue or they're on your side. They're either mindless puppets and therefore not worth following, or they're insiders and you shouldn't follow them. Busy56 says the Patriot Act followed 9/11. Exactly. Isabel Ann says he was in conspiracy theory released on 8/8, the Maui fire date. Yes, exactly. And that's really what they build this caricature of the tinfoil hatter. Like, what's up with that caricature? I don't know anybody who lives up to that. It's the normies who are paranoid. Okay, moving on. Trump confirms his inauguration will be held indoors. So what are they setting up here? He says, I don't want to see people hurt or injured in any way. He says they will open the Capital One Arena for Monday for the live viewing, but everyone will be safe, make America great again. So here's what he's basically saying. January 20th can't come fast enough, but it is dangerous conditions for the thousands of people, law enforcement, first responders, police, canines, and horses. And he says, I've ordered the inauguration address to be delivered in the Capitol Rotunda as was used by Reagan in 85. We will open Capital One on Monday for live viewing of the historic event. And I think he said something else about how the ticket is just a commemorative token now. But, yeah, what does this mean? Now, I found something else, too. This is aerial radiation testing will be conducted over D.C. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's very trustworthy, has been talking.
Next week, we can expect to see
has been talking about this as well, and this just hyping up drone fear. And it's a question as to whether or not she believes what she says. I personally don't think so. I don't even know if she comprehends what she says. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, for all intents and purposes, is reading a teleprompter. None of these people write their own books. But anyway, aerial radiation testing will be conducted over D.C. ahead of presidential inauguration.
Next week, we can expect to see a helicopter flying low over downtown D.C. as part of presidential inauguration security. The Department of Energy will measure naturally occurring background radiation to update their maps of the area. Now, authorities would use that data as a baseline in case of a radiological incident.
Okay, just in case there's a radiological incident. Just in case, nothing to worry about. And this was a month ago. So this was just around the time the drone hype was going in, but it wasn't, I don't know. I mean, in New Jersey, they said that there was something that they were looking for. People were claiming radiation sickness from drones. Now, we had a lot of conversation with fakeologists about 9/11 and simulations, and when you're trying to talk about something on the scale of that and calling it fake, it's very helpful to cite a couple of facts here. For example, Erie, there's that word, Erie NRO simulation on 9/11. Did you know on 9/11/2001, the National Reconnaissance Office held a simulation of a plane hitting two buildings at their headquarters? So these are the documents that were released. So you're looking at this scripted story. This is from the Black Vault, the original docs. Next we have here. Now this is an interesting one because in this case, a simulation becomes real. Amidst crisis simulation, we were suddenly under a, quote, no kidding attack. September 11th, as Americans watched horror rain upon New York and Washington, a military outpost in New York, in the Northeast Air Defense Sector operators were doing war games, basically. Vigilant Guardian, an exercise that posed an imaginary crisis to the North American air defense outposts nationwide. It would run all week. So they had these NORAD drills, and then it became real. That's the whole thing here. It says, at 8:40, Deskins noticed that the senior technician waved his hand, and they said that a plane had been hijacked. And she said she thought it was part of the exercise, and they all did it first. American Airlines Flight 11 headed towards LA. It veered off course. But it goes on to say how all of a sudden the drill became real. Now, I'm pointing this out because there are so many of these that it explains the closed movie sets. Like, how do you close a movie set? How do you keep people who aren't involved there? Well, you have to have something previously scheduled, something staged there. And then this is an interesting point, too. It talks about the numbers of people involved. Operation Tripod had hired 1,000 police academy cadets and fire department trainees to play the role of terrified civilians afflicted with medical conditions, allergies, and panic attacks. And guess who was there in attendance, or who was supposed to be there? Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, fire commissioners, police commissioners, FBI, and FEMA. That was Operation Tripod bioterror exercise. See the NRO stuff, Vigilant Guardian, Global Guardian, 1,000 people with Operation Tripod. It says, when the attacks began, Operation Tripod was canceled. And one point I brought up in this fakeologist conversation was that if it were a real terror attack, a bunch of actors, a bunch of crisis actors could have been killed. Like, think of the irony of this. They're doing a drill for something, and then it really happens. And all the people faking like they're victims really die. It would be like doing a mass casualty shooting drill, and it really gets shot up. Like, this doesn't happen in reality. What a coincidence, says Stuart McKenzie. Oh yeah, so many coincidences. Roxy says, Dr. Stephen Greer flip-flopped from saying all the drones and orbs are ours, as well as years of cattle mutilations and abductions. Who's abducting the cows? You know, I talked to somebody who worked for animal control about this thing because a friend's cat had been eaten by a coyote. And when I saw it, it was kind of strange because if the coyote doesn't bother with like the meat, it just wants the warm, pre-digested food. So it just basically eats the stomach and intestines out. And I mean, these things can jump like over 6-foot fences. You can't let your cats out if there are coyotes around. But anyway, I talked to the animal control about this, and I said, might this explain cattle mutilations, where cows are found where their soft inner organs are missing, like some aliens took them for experiments, which is what people generally believe. But no, he said that's exactly what they would do. That cattle mutilations are likely coyotes and not aliens. I always look for the mundane explanation before reaching to the supernatural. So let me read this quote here. This is from Edward Bernays. We often talk about Netflix. We live on planet Netflix. Life follows Netflix. The first CEO and co-founder of Netflix is a nephew of Edward Bernays, the father of PR stunts, public relations. So I've got a quote here from, again, and this guy was also Sigmund Freud's nephew. But we often talk about the newsbenders, the metascripters, and people ask, and they're very often frustrated by this, like, who are they? Who is it? Who did 9/11? If it wasn't them, if it wasn't Bush, who did it? Well, the PSYOP entertainment but it's not a new premise. This is what Edward Bernays said. Quote, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. Now, this reminds me of what Polybius said, this historian, regarding the use of superstition in maintaining the cohesion of the Roman state, and the use of religion and superstition and the fear of gods to keep people in line. So we're talking about the manipulation of the masses as a mass. So here's what he goes on to say. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, the true ruling power of our country. I would say the world. There is an invisible government. It's the capstone level of the lie world order's pyramid. It's invisible. He says, we are governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested by men we've never heard of. This is a logical result of the way our society is organized. So this is from Propaganda 1928, Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he founded the public relations industry. There's quite a lot more in this particular article. It's intriguing. I'm going to share a link to it, but I want to just talk about how the whole premise here of totally controlled monolithic media replacing religion is that this is the invisible government. I often say that there's no point in saying it's different governments. There's only one government. We're all on the same sheet. None of them are refuting the lies of the. You would say, hey,